All right. Welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right. Wow, that's a pretty good response. I like that. So let me introduce myself really quickly, and please, definitely feel free to keep getting some food and stuff like that. My name is Laura Saunders. A lot of you probably already know me. I'm one of the assistant professors here at Simmons, and this is Jeremy Guillette, who is, many of you probably already know him too. He's one of the master's students here at Simmons, but he has also been working as my graduate student assistant for the past year. And so he was involved in this project with me, and he is going to be adding some of his insight. So what is this project? Over the summer, I had a small grant that I used to run a bunch of focus groups with area librarians and archivists, people who could potentially be your employers, to ask them what they thought was important for you to know, understand, be able to do, what skills and competencies are they looking for right now. So we're actually really lucky to have a lot of backup in the room, because in addition to Jeremy, who participated in all the focus groups and kept notes and things like that, we also have Chris Lieberman, who was also one of the note takers in the focus groups, and we have one of our participants, Daphne Harrington. So you're going to have plenty of expertise to draw on here if you're really looking to find a job. So what I'm going to do is just go through and highlight for you some of the findings from these focus groups. And Jeremy is going to kind of jump in and elaborate on some of the things that he heard, and also give you some of his personal experiences on how he's been working on building up some of those competencies. I want to kind of keep this informal, and I'm actually planning to go through the presentation part fairly quickly, so there'll be plenty of time for questions and things like that. Okay, so as I said, we did these focus groups over the summer. We had 37 participants, and it was a fairly good breakdown. You can see there were mostly librarians, and in fact, almost half of our participants were public librarians. But we also had people from academic librarians, like Daphne, special and corporate archives, and then people who are in some more non-traditional jobs, like publishing houses and things like that. Most of our participants were actually library directors, but we also had department heads, librarians, archivists, and so on. So we had a good representation, and I think we got some good information in terms of what the expectations are. So basically what we were asking people is, what do they think is most important? So when they are hiring or writing job descriptions and things like that, when they're working with our students as interns, volunteers, or new hires, what competencies are they looking for? Which ones do they think are most important? We also asked them to speak a little bit, because a lot of the people who attended the focus groups have worked with you guys, either our new graduates that they've hired or interns. So we asked them how well they thought you guys were prepared, and what other kinds of things we should be focusing on, or what skills we should be building. All right, so what kinds of things do you think they're looking for? Anyone want to guess? Yeah. A degree, definitely, really important. Yeah.
Well, it's the same things we talked about last night in 401 for corporate librarian. IT skills, quick study, ability to do analytical work, ability to focus in depth.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, so here are some of the things that came up. No big surprise, technology was a big topic. Okay, and in fact, it was really funny, but when we sat down for our first focus group, and I asked the first question, what do you think people need to be learning? The very first answer was technology, technology, technology. That was the first thing one of our participants said. But the question that I had for them, and I think maybe many of you had, is, what do you mean when you say technology? That's really a broad topic, and nobody's going to know everything. There's lots of different levels of knowledge and expertise. So I tried to push people to talk a little bit more about what do they mean when they say they want people who know technology. So a few things came up, and one of the things I want to emphasize, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, is that there were some differences depending on what type of library or information setting people were working in. So in other words, the corporate librarians had slightly different answers from the public librarians, and so on. But at the most basic level, they are definitely expecting to find people who have some facility with end-user applications. So in other words, they want you to be able to just jump on the computer and start working, okay? They want you to know the different interfaces, the different platforms, and they want you to be able to go from one type of application to another without feeling kind of overwhelmed or stressed or lost, okay? Another big area is the ability to troubleshoot hardware and software. So there was some expectation that people are going to understand how to install programs, what to do when a patron comes up and says, it's not working, whatever it might be, right? And to be able to just kind of be on the spot and solve problems as they come up. Social media is another big area that people are interested in. This was one that I would say was especially popular with the public librarians. They're really looking for ways to reach out to their community, and so what they want are people who understand how to use these tools and understand how to use them effectively. So in other words, of course, most of these librarians also know Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Tumblr and all of these different kinds of things, but what they need is someone who can pull it together, someone who can keep on top of it, and also who can make good choices about which of these are we going to focus on, which ones are worth using, which ones are we not going to follow at this point, okay? And so along those same lines, they're just kind of looking for people who understand how things work. So in other words, you don't necessarily have to be able to build a database from scratch, but they certainly want you to understand how it works on the back end as well as being able to use it on the front end, okay? So some knowledge about how these things are constructed, how searches are executed, things like that, so that you're going to have a better understanding of how to use it and how to help your patrons use it, okay? Programming language. Again, this was something that really varied from librarian to librarian, from type of setting to type of setting. Some of them, and I would say more so maybe in the sort of larger academic libraries and the corporate libraries, want people who can come in and actually program, okay? Yeah, it depends on the position too, but they expect you to have some fairly in-depth knowledge. Whereas at the other levels, other kinds of libraries, it was often more just maybe some basic understanding. Something so that you might be able to pinpoint where there's a problem, or again, have a good understanding of how it works in the back end, but not necessarily building these things yourself. And so that brings us to this sort of last point here, which is they want you to be able to evaluate the different applications, different software. So in other words, if they're going to make a decision about should we make this purchase, they want someone who's going to be able to come in there and use the tool and make a good assessment of how useful is this? How does it compare to other things that are like it? How does it compare to, if we're looking at proprietary software, how does it compare to open source that might be available? So as one person said, we want someone who can come in and make a recommendation. Do we build it? Do we buy it? Okay? That person may not be the one who's going to do the building. They have to have some knowledge of, can it be done? How difficult is it? Do we have the in-house capacity? Those kinds of things. Okay? But the biggest thing that we got across the board was just this idea that they want people who are not afraid of technology. Okay? And in fact, the more that I tried to push people to define what they were looking for, the more they would say that you can't really define it. Okay? It depends a lot on the position. It depends on the organization. But also it depends on the fact that technology is always changing. So whatever they told me in the focus group in August would already be different today, or certainly is going to be different by the time you graduate. And so what they want is somebody who's willing to just keep learning, somebody that they can hand an application to and you'll just say like, okay, I'll figure it out, right? And so a lot of it just has to do with your confidence. And what this implies to me is that you need to just go out there and try everything. Any course that you're taking is going to be helpful, but on your own, you also have to just go and explore. As I often tell my mother, you're not going to break it, so just go ahead and try it, and sooner or later you'll figure it out. To that end, I would say definitely take whatever technology courses you can while you're here at GSLIS, but don't limit yourself to just what's available in sort of your standard semester courses. Look at what's being offered in the tech lab. Look at all the software that they have. I mean, certainly go take workshops, continuing education workshops. Look at the MOOCs and things like that, what's being offered there. But just go in and get your hands on it. There's such an array of software available to you in the GSLIS Tech Lab. Like I said, you're not going to break it. So go ahead, go in, open it up. Annie will help you if you get lost. Right?
The whole staff.
Exactly. but there are people there who are going to be able to help you if you do kind of get lost or get, frustrated. But most of it is just going in and trying it. So to that end, Jeremy's going to give you some.
And also with trying software, you don't even have to limit yourself to just what's available commercially through the Tech Lab. Tech Lab pays for a lot of stuff. It's great. You should take a look at it. But there are also a lot of free open source programs that you can try. You can be like, oh, I really find iTunes annoying, but it does all of these things that I want it to do. So what's an alternative that does everything that I need, but none of the things that I am annoyed with? And so there's a lot of open source software solutions to these kinds of things that you can then customize more. And just through trying to figure out how to do one relatively simple thing, you can kind of learn a little bit of how it works, and that enables you to do a little bit more, and a little bit more. So you don't have to get all the way to database developer or something overnight. You just kind of have to get a little bit beyond what you know now through just trying stuff.
Take advantage of lynda.com,
Yeah.
please. While you have it, it's free. Outside of here, not so much.
So in fact, does everyone know about lynda.com?
No.
Not everybody. Okay, so lynda.com, it's LYNDA.com. You log into it with the same username and password that you use for everything else at Simmons, and once you get in there, there's just a whole array of self-paced tutorials that you can play around with on lots of different topics and applications and software and things like that. So, and as Andy said, it's free to you. Simmons bought this package, so it's free to you while you're here. So definitely take advantage.
Can you use it outside of the campus, or does it have?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You can use it on any machine. There's apps on iPhone, Android, all the above. And so, yeah, you can access it from anywhere with your Simmons credentials.
So now that you know that you can learn a whole bunch of stuff, it also makes sense to kind of narrow your focus as to what you want to learn. And that's kind of a complicated process because of the nature of technology. It's always changing, people want different things, but ultimately it is just technology. When people say that, it's a tool that makes some task easier. So you kind of might want to find out the task that an employer is wanting to accomplish with technology. When they say technology, what do they actually want to do with it? If it's social media, they probably want some community outreach. They might want better knowledge management internally. They might want a better cataloging system. There is an end